If you've ever been caught in a storm that felt like it was following you, keep listening. The night the sky opened, I was halfway through the mountain pass, the kind of stretch where the road narrows to a thread and the trees lean too close, like they're eavesdropping. I'd been driving for hours, chasing silence. The kind of silence that only comes when you've run out of excuses to go home. But then the rain came. Not a drizzle, not a shower. An avalanche of water that smothered the world. At first, I thought it would pass. It always does, right? You drive a few more miles and it fades behind you. But this rain, it didn't fade. It deepened. It roared. The wipers swung back and forth in a losing battle, streaking my reflection across the glass. My headlights reached maybe 5 feet before the darkness swallowed them whole. Every gust of wind shook the car as if something enormous was moving through the trees. I remember gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles burned white. The road curved and curved again, and soon I couldn't tell if I was still on asphalt or slipping onto mud. There were no signs, no other cars, just the thrum of the rain hammering the roof. My phone's GPS had given up 20 minutes earlier. The last message I'd seen before the signal died said something like, "Turn back before the ridge." I laughed at the time. Now I wish I hadn't. Lightning cracked across the sky, forking through the clouds like veins. For half a second, everything lit up. The mountains, the endless forest, and a single warped sign half buried in vines. I slowed to a crawl, squinting through the windshield. The sign blinked, buzzing faintly through the rain. It said, Raven Hill Motel. Vacancy. The N in vacancy flickered, stuttering between life and death. It shouldn't have been possible to see light that bright through the storm. But there it was, humming like an insect calling me closer. I pulled into the lot, tires crunching over gravel and puddles. The building looked like it hadn't seen a guest in decades. Wooden siding warped by moisture, a roof sagging under years of rainfall. Only one window was lit near the office, and even that light seemed hesitant, as though it didn't want to be noticed. When I stepped out, the rain hit me like a wall. It wasn't falling anymore. It was pouring sideways, cutting across my face, soaking through my jacket in seconds. I ran for cover, head down, shoes splashing through ankle-deep water. The door to the office creaked when I pulled it open, and the smell hit me first. Old dust, mold, and something faintly metallic, like wet coins. A bell sat on the counter, the kind that begged to be ignored. I hesitated, then pressed it. Ding. The sound was swallowed instantly by the rain outside. Then, footsteps. Slow, uneven ones. A man appeared from a side door, thin, pale, with hair slicked flat and eyes clouded like fogged glass. He wore a gray vest and a tie that had probably been black once. He didn't look surprised to see me. "You caught in it too?" he rasped. "Yeah," I said, still dripping onto the wooden floor. "Some storm." He nodded like he'd heard that line 1,000 times before. Then he reached under the counter, pulled out a tarnished key attached to a faded blue tag. "Room 3, he said. "End of the row." "Do you take cards?" I asked, trying to smile. He blinked once. "Cash only." I hesitated, but pulled a crumpled 20 from my wallet. His fingers brushed mine when he took it, cold and damp, like he'd been standing outside. As he turned to log something in an old ledger, I noticed the clock behind him. His second hand ticked, but too slowly, dragging through each motion like it was struggling against time. The sound didn't match the rhythm of the rain. It lagged, a heartbeat behind. "Storm comes through here every few years," the man muttered, sliding the key across the counter. "Gets worse each time. Don't open your curtains tonight. Whatever you hear, don't look." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer, just stared at me until I picked up the key and nodded like I understood. The walk to room 3 was short, but the rain made it feel endless. Each step splashed. Each gust carried whispers that almost sounded like voices. When I reached the door, I noticed a single light flickering inside, even though the curtains were drawn. I hesitated before unlocking it. The room smelled faintly of mildew and something sweeter, like wet flowers left too long in a vase. There was a single bed, a dresser, a small bathroom with a flickering bulb, and a rotary phone bolted to the wall. The wallpaper peeled in strips, revealing darker stains beneath. I set my bag down and peeled off my soaked jacket. My hands were trembling, though I told myself it was just from the cold. Outside, the storm howled. I tried the television, nothing but static. The radio on the nightstand buzzed faintly, every channel swallowed by white noise. When I finally lay down, the mattress exhaled a puff of dust that smelled like decay. For a while, I just listened. The rain was deafening. It came in waves, soft for a few seconds, then slamming hard enough to rattle the glass. At times it sounded almost rhythmic, like it was imitating something, breathing, maybe. I stared at the ceiling and told myself it was my imagination. But that didn't help when the thunder rolled again, shaking the walls. The clock on the nightstand read 1:03 a.m. I must have dozed off at some point, because the next thing I remember is waking up to silence. Not complete silence, worse than that. The kind where the air feels charged. Waiting. The rain had stopped. For the first time all night, there wasn't a single drop. I sat up, blinking into the darkness. The room was thick with shadows, the air too still. Then, from somewhere outside, came a single tap on the window. Then another. Tap, tap. I held my breath. The sound didn't match the rhythm of falling rain. It was slower, deliberate, like knuckles on glass. I turned toward the window, even though I knew I shouldn't. The curtains trembled slightly, as if something was brushing against them from the outside. Then the rain started again, harder than before. The thunder crashed so close it made my teeth ache, and I flinched back, heart pounding. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out. In that brief, stuttering flash before darkness took over, I thought I saw something through the curtains, just a shape standing still in the downpour. I told myself it was a tree, or a shadow, or nothing. But as I lay back down, forcing my eyes shut, I couldn't shake the feeling that the storm had changed its rhythm. It no longer felt random, felt like it was listening. And every now and then, between the thunder and the wind, I could have sworn I heard it whisper my name. Have you ever felt watched, even when you knew you were alone? I didn't plan to stop that night. I hadn't planned anything, really. The storm had made every decision for me. Where to go, when to stop, what to fear. I just followed the flicker of that vacancy sign like a moth chasing a dying flame. The lobby was smaller than I'd imagined from the outside. When I pushed open the door, it groaned like something old being woken up. The air inside was thick, not with warmth, but with stillness. It felt like the kind of air that hadn't moved in years. There was wallpaper once, I think, faded green, curling at the edges, exposing the cracked plaster beneath. A single ceiling fan spun in uneven circles, its chain swinging lazily, whispering with each rotation. The smell was heavy, old paper, mildew, and the faintest hint of rot beneath something sweet, like spoiled perfume. A long, wooden counter divided the room. On it sat a dusty guest book, a glass bowl filled with yellowing mints, and a bell that looked older than the motel itself. I pressed it, half expecting it wouldn't work. It did. The sound that followed was sharp, cutting through the silence. Then I heard the dragging shuffle of shoes across linoleum. The man who appeared didn't walk so much as drift. His clothes hung off him, a grey vest buttoned wrong, sleeves rolled up unevenly, one pant leg soaked to the knee. His hair, slick with something that wasn't quite water, clung to his skull. His eyes, I'll never forget those, clouded over, like frost had grown behind them. He didn't seem surprised to see me. You caught in it too? He asked, his voice the rasp of wet paper. Yeah, I said, forcing a laugh. It's biblical out there. He stared at me for a long moment, as if the words had to travel a great distance before he understood them. Then he nodded. It's the long rain, he murmured. Been coming down for years now. I frowned. Years? You mean storms like this happen often? He tilted his head, as if listening to something beyond the walls. No, not storms like this. Just this one. It never really stops. Not here. Before I could respond, he reached below the counter and slid a key toward me. Room 3. The brass tag was tarnished and slightly bent, the number etched deep into the metal. Cash only, he said. Yeah, sure, I muttered, handing him a bill. His fingers brushed mine, damp, cold, soft in a way that made my skin crawl. As he wrote something into the ledger, the only sound was the slow, dragging tick of the clock behind him. I glanced up at it. Its hands trembled slightly, as if resisting the motion. The minute hand twitched forward, then stalled. You'll want to keep your curtains shut, he said suddenly. I turned back to him. What? He kept writing, not looking up. The curtains. Don't open them, no matter what you hear tonight. For a second, I thought he was joking. Some local superstition meant to spook tourists. Why's that? I asked. Because, he said, voice lowering, it listens. The rain. It likes to see who's still awake. I let out a nervous laugh. Right. Got it. No curtain peeking. His hand froze on the ledger. Then, very slowly, he looked at me and smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Good, he said. I tucked the key in my pocket and turned toward the hallway. As I passed the doorway, I noticed something strange. Muddy footprints leading out from behind the counter. They weren't shaped right. The prints were long, almost dragging, and water had pooled around each one like they'd just been made. I told myself it was just from him stepping outside earlier. Maybe he'd checked something near the parking lot. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that the prints didn't belong to him. The corridor stretched long and dim, lined with old wallpaper that had bubbled from moisture. The lights buzzed faintly, flickering with each roll of thunder outside. The carpet squished under my shoes. It wasn't soaked, but damp, the kind of damp that never quite dries. My footsteps echoed in the emptiness. Room 1, room 2, each door looked the same. But when I reached my own, I stopped. There were more footprints, not leading to my door, but away from it. The prints were darker here, as if something had been standing in front of the door for a long time, letting the water drip off. I crouched down, tracing the outline of one. The smell hit me again. Wet earth and something faintly metallic. I touched the carpet, and my fingers came away red-brown. Mud, I told myself. It's just mud. I unlocked the door quickly, stepped inside, and shut it behind me. The room looked just as I'd left it. Bed neatly made, my bag still untouched, the single light flickering above the nightstand. The air felt heavier than before, though humid, almost wet, as if the rain had seeped through the walls themselves. I hung my jacket by the door and stared at the window. The curtains swayed slightly, though the glass was closed tight. I thought about what the old man had said. Don't open them. The thunder outside cracked, closer than before. I jumped despite myself. Then came the rain again, a sudden, violent rush like someone turning on a faucet full force. I could hear it hitting the roof, the walls, the window. I sat on the edge of the bed and told myself it was just weather. Just a lonely, broken motel in the middle of nowhere. But I couldn't stop thinking about those footprints, the ones leading away from my door. Who had been standing there? And why had the old man looked so calm, like he'd seen it all before? The rain grew louder, drowning out the hum of the lights. I turned off the lamp and lay back, staring into the darkness. The ceiling above me creaked with each gust of wind, the sound echoing down through the thin walls. Somewhere beyond the lobby, I heard a door slam. Then another. Then silence again. I told myself it was the storm pushing things around. But as I drifted toward uneasy sleep, I thought I heard something faint under the thunder. The sound of wet feet dragging across the hallway carpet. And they were coming closer. If you're listening with headphones, keep them on. You'll hear it too. Sleep didn't come easy that night. It felt like trying to rest inside a drum. Every drop of rain a strike, every gust of wind a hand rattling the skin. I'd turn on one side, then the other, but no matter how I moved, the sound followed me. It wasn't just rain anymore. It had weight, rhythm, almost a pulse. I tried counting seconds between lightning and thunder, but it never matched. The thunder always came too soon, like it was waiting for me. At some point, exhaustion took over, and I must have dozed off. though it didn't feel like sleep. It felt like sinking. Then, a whisper pulled me back. It was soft at first, barely there, like someone breathing through the walls. I thought it was part of a dream until I realized the whisper had shape. Words. I couldn't make them out, but the cadence was wrong for wind. I opened my eyes. The room was dark, lit only by the occasional flash from outside. Each flash painted the walls for a split second. Bed, nightstand, mirror, door. Normal. Until the next flash, when I thought I saw a second reflection in the glass. I sat up slowly, heart beating in time with the thunder. The whispering continued, now beneath the rain, threading through it like a voice just under the surface of water. I leaned closer, trying to find the source. Then I heard it again, clearer this time. It said my name, not screamed, not called, whispered, gently, almost affectionately. I froze. Nobody knew I was here. I hadn't told anyone where I was going. My phone had no signal. The road was empty for miles. Hello. I called out, voice breaking. Who's there? The rain answered, slamming harder against the window. I stared at the curtains. They swayed slightly, brushing the sill like fingers. For a second, I thought I saw a shape behind them. Tall, motionless, pressed close to the glass. But when lightning flashed again, there was nothing. The whisper returned, closer now, though it sounded distorted, stretched by static. My eyes drifted toward the old radio on the nightstand. It had been silent since I arrived, its dials rusted, its cord barely attached. But now it was hissing softly, the kind of low static that sounds like breathing if you listen too long. Then, beneath that hiss, came the faintest sound of sobbing. Not loud, quiet, distant, like someone crying a few rooms away. The kind of cry that comes from being alone too long. I reached over and turned the dial, trying to clear the signal. The sobbing grew louder for a second, then cut out completely, replaced by a single tone that rose and fell like a heartbeat. And then, just above the tone, a voice spoke through the static. It wasn't the old man. It wasn't anyone I recognized. But the voice was familiar in the way nightmares sometimes are, like something you've heard before but can't place. Don't look, it whispered. My hand froze on the radio. The voice came again, this time clearer, closer, as if standing just behind me. Don't open the curtains. I turned slowly, half expecting to see the clerk standing there in the doorway. But the door was shut, the lock still latched. The radio went silent again. Then the static surged back, louder, violent. A shriek of white noise that filled the room until I yanked the plug from the wall. And then, silence. For a moment, all I could hear was my heartbeat and the whisper of the rain. Then, from outside, something moved. It wasn't footsteps, not exactly. More like dragging, wet fabric sliding over the gravel, circling the motel rooms. The sound stopped, then started again, right beneath my window. I sat on the edge of the bed, muscles locked, every nerve in my body screaming to stay still. The rain pounded harder, until it sounded like fists against the glass. Don't open the curtains. That warning looped in my head, over and over, but it was impossible not to look. My eyes kept drifting to the fabric swaying in the corner. The whispering was back now, faint but layered. Not one voice. Many. Dozens. They weren't speaking words anymore, just sounds, wet and broken, like people trying to talk underwater. I stood. My feet moved on their own, step by slow step, toward the window. The floor creaked under me, the boards cold even through my socks. Lightning flared, bathing the room in blue. In that flash, I saw handprints pressed against the curtain. 5 long, wet smears dragging downward. I stumbled back, breath catching. Then the lights flickered, once, twice, and died completely. The room fell into darkness so complete it felt physical, pressing against my skin. The only light came from the brief flashes outside, each one illuminating the same awful scene in stuttering fragments. The curtain moving, the shape beyond it, the faint outline of a face pressed to the glass. I couldn't see details, just pale skin, wide eyes, and something glistening around the mouth that looked too much like rainwater. Then, the face smiled. I fell backward, hitting the floor hard, scrambling away until my back hit the wall. The air felt heavier now, colder, like the storm had crept inside. The radio clicked back on by itself. The static whispered, pulsing like breath. Then a single voice emerged, calm, steady, impossibly clear through the noise. "You shouldn't have looked." The lights came back for half a second, just long enough for me to see the wet footprints leading from the window to the center of the room. Then everything went dark again. The whispering grew louder, a chorus now, rising with the thunder, wrapping around me from every direction. My name again, repeated over and over, until I couldn't tell if I was hearing it or thinking it. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The sound wasn't in the room anymore. It was inside me. And beneath all of it, beneath the rain and the voices and the hum of static, I could still hear the faint, steady tick of the clock from the lobby. Too slow. Always too slow. I don't remember when I started screaming. Maybe I never did. Maybe the sound I thought was my voice was just another echo in the storm. All I know is that by the time the whispering stopped, the rain had changed. It wasn't hitting the glass anymore. It was hitting something else. Something soft. Something inside the room. They say storms can hold memories. Maybe this one never forgot. Morning never really came. The light outside the window had turned a dull, grayish blue. Not dawn, not day, just a tired color that sat heavy on everything. I couldn't tell what time it was. The clock on the nightstand had stopped at 3:17 a.m. The rain still hammered against the glass, unrelenting, as though the night had decided it wasn't done yet. I hadn't slept. Not really. My eyes closed once or twice, but the sound always dragged me back. Every time I drifted, I'd hear something. A faint tap, a shuffle, a whisper curling just under the thunder. I told myself it was wind, but I didn't believe it anymore. When I finally sat up, I realized my clothes were damp. The air in the room had a wet chill, like I'd been sleeping inside the lungs of the storm. I checked the floor. The footprints were gone, or maybe they'd never been there at all. I needed to leave. That was all I could think about. Just get in the car, drive until the rain faded. But when I opened the door, the world outside looked like it had been swallowed whole. The parking lot was a lake. The water stretched out to the tree line, carrying along branches, leaves, and things that looked like furniture. The road itself had vanished under the flood. Even the sign, that flickering vacancy sign, was half submerged, its light sputtering weakly beneath the waves. There was no leaving. Not now. I went back inside. The lobby looked different in daylight, or what passed for daylight. The colors were muted, washed out, as if time itself had faded. The man at the desk wasn't there. The bell sat quietly, coated in a thin layer of dust that hadn't been there last night. I called out. No answer. Just the sound of the rain pressing against the windows. Behind the counter was a small door, slightly ajar. I hesitated, then pushed it open. The room beyond was a cramped office, filing cabinets, stacks of papers, and a single desk with a lamp that flickered weakly when I switched it on. That's when I saw them, the newspapers. Dozens of them, piled high in uneven stacks, their edges curled and yellowed. I picked one up carefully. Raven Hill Dam collapses. Town lost to flood. The date read, November 7th, 1972. My throat went dry. I flipped through the pages, scanning the headlines. Each one worse than the last. 43 confirmed dead. Bodies recovered near Motel Ridge. Search efforts suspended. The photos were blurry, black and white, but I could make out pieces. Streets swallowed by water, cars overturned, people clinging to rooftops. One picture stopped me cold. The motel. The same peeling paint, the same roofline sagging under the rain. Only back then, half of it was underwater. There was a caption beneath it. Rescue teams recover last survivor near Raven Hill Motel. Owner missing, presumed dead. I looked around the office. The clock on the wall ticked faintly, slower than it should. The air felt thicker here, like breathing through fog. My fingers trembled as I flipped to the next page. At the bottom of one article, the date repeated, November 7th, 1972. Exactly 50 years ago. Tonight, a crack of thunder shook the building, so close it rattled the light fixture above me. The rain outside intensified, slamming against the walls with a sound that was no longer random. It came in bursts, like a heartbeat. I dropped the paper and stumbled back into the lobby. The bell on the counter jingled softly, not from me touching it, but as if it had moved on its own. "Hello?" I called again, louder this time. "Sir, are you here?" No answer. Only the faint hum of the lights and the rain's relentless rhythm. Then something new, a faint drip from behind me. I turned. Water was seeping through the ceiling tiles, darkening the carpet below. Each drop left a mark, spreading slowly outward. The ceiling above it sagged slightly, the plaster stained black. It almost looked like a handprint. I stepped back. My shoes squelched. The water was already pooling around my feet. I ran to the window and pressed my face to the glass. The parking lot was gone. Only dark, endless water remained, rippling with the storm. For a second, I thought I saw something move beneath the surface. A flicker, a pale shimmer like cloth floating just below. I told myself it was debris. It had to be. Then I saw another shimmer. And another. Shapes, rising slowly through the flood. Pale, human shapes. The rain battered the window harder, almost desperate, as if trying to cover the sight. But I couldn't look away. The shapes moved closer, their outlines clearer with every flash of lightning. Faces, eyes open, mouths slack, hair drifting like weeds underwater. I stumbled back, tripping over a chair, heart hammering. The sound of the rain filled the air again, drowning everything else. And then, I heard it. A voice, faint but unmistakable, carried on the wind through the cracks in the door. "You should have stayed inside." I spun toward the hallway. No one was there. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied again. The voice came again, closer now. "He told you not to look." I pressed my back to the wall, scanning the shadows. The sound wasn't coming from one place. It was everywhere, like the storm itself was speaking. Another thunderclap hit, shaking the floor. The walls groaned, water dripping faster now from every corner. I grabbed one of the newspapers from the desk and stuffed it into my jacket pocket. Proof, or maybe just something to hold on to. Then I turned toward the hallway, ready to find the old man, to demand answers. But before I took a single step, I froze. The photographs on the lobby wall, the ones I hadn't noticed before, were dripping. Old black and white portraits of smiling faces, each one framed neatly in glass. Only now, the faces were smeared, the ink running down like tears. And behind the glass, faintly, the surface moved, as though something beneath it was pressing out. I backed away slowly, my breath fogging in the cold air. The rain outside roared again, angry now, a living thing beating against the walls. Somewhere beyond the flood, I thought I heard church bells, slow, mournful, muffled by distance and water. That's when I realized the truth. The storm wasn't just repeating history. It was history. It had never ended. Don't look outside. Whatever you do, don't look. That warning, the one the old man whispered when I first arrived, had been looping in my mind ever since the voices began. But it's one thing to be told not to do something, and another to feel the need clawing inside you to see why. It was night again. Or maybe it had never stopped being night. The storm had swallowed time whole. Every hour felt the same. The relentless rain, the flickering lights, the clock that wouldn't move. I sat on the edge of the bed, fully dressed, staring at the curtain. It swayed slightly with the draft seeping through the cracks in the window. I told myself I wouldn't touch it, that I could last till morning. But the voices wouldn't stop. They whispered in rhythms now, almost patterned, almost human. Faint murmurs that rose and fell with the thunder. Sometimes it was laughter, low, broken, like someone remembering something awful. Other times it was crying, close enough that I could almost feel the breath against the glass. I covered my ears. It didn't help. And then the lights went out. Not just a flicker this time. A full, suffocating blackout. The rain was still there, slamming against the walls, but the room itself was swallowed in pitch black. I could hear my own breathing, sharp and uneven. Then, tap. A sound from the window. A single, deliberate tap. I froze. Another tap. Then another. Slow. Rhythmic. Almost like knuckles on glass. I didn't move. My heart pounded so loud I was sure whatever was outside could hear it. Lightning cracked across the sky, flooding the room with white for less than a second. And in that second, I saw them. Faces. Pressed against the window, pale and drenched. Their skin grayish and soft like wet paper. Their eyes were wide, too wide, white and hollow, staring straight at me. Their mouths hung open, as if mid-scream, but no sound came out. Then darkness again. The thunder followed, shaking the building. When the light returned with the next flash, the window was empty. Just the reflection of the room, and me, pale, shaking, eyes wide. I stumbled back, tripping over the chair, slamming into the dresser. My hand knocked over the lamp. It clattered to the floor with a hollow ring. Silence. No, not silence. The rain had changed. It was softer now, almost gentle, like it was waiting. I forced myself to breathe. Once, twice. Then I saw it, the floor beneath the window. Wet, a dark, spreading puddle soaking into the carpet, leading toward the bed. My mouth went dry. I grabbed my flashlight, the one I kept in my bag, and flicked it on. The beam wobbled weakly, catching droplets still clinging to the window pane from the inside. Someone, or something, had been standing there. I aimed the light lower. The carpet was soaked, and faint footprints, small, bare, faintly visible, trailed from the window toward the hallway door. I followed them, each step squelched beneath my shoes. The beam of light trembled in my shaking hand. The air smelled of rain and rot, like the inside of something dead. The prints stopped at the door. I listened. No movement. No voices. I turned the handle slowly. The hallway beyond was dark except for the faint emergency light flickering at the far end. The wallpaper peeled in strips, and water trickled down the walls like sweat. I stepped out. The motel felt different now, stretched, warped. The hallway seemed longer than before, the doors unevenly spaced, as if the building itself was changing shape to confuse me. I heard something, a faint scrape, like metal dragging across the floor, from somewhere ahead. I followed it, careful, quiet. It led to the lobby. The desk was empty again, but the bell was gone. In its place sat a small, waterlogged photograph. I picked it up. It showed a group of people, 5 or 6, standing outside this same motel, smiling for the camera. The photo was stained and warped from moisture, but one face at the back stood out. The old man, the clerk. The caption, half erased by water damage, read, Raven Hill Motel Staff, 1972. I swallowed hard. My eyes went back to the wall behind the desk, the one lined with old black and white portraits. Only now, there were more of them. Dozens more. Each face pale, blank, pressed behind glass. And at the very end of the row, mine. My photo. My face, staring back, terrified, eyes wide, frozen mid-breath. I dropped the flashlight. It rolled across the floor, the beam spinning wildly, scattering light across the dripping walls. The thunder roared again, closer than ever, shaking the entire building. And in that flash, all the faces in the frames turned. Not a flicker, not imagination, they moved. Their heads tilted, slowly, in unison, toward me. Their eyes, black and empty, locked on. I ran. I don't remember choosing a direction, just running. The hallway twisted, the floor slick underfoot. Every door I passed seemed to breathe, the wood expanding and contracting with wet creaks. Somewhere behind me, the bell jingled. Once, twice, then silence again. I burst back into my room and slammed the door shut. My chest heaved, my skin cold and clammy. I pressed my back against the door, listening. The whispers had returned, faint, murmuring, right outside. You looked. You shouldn't have looked. Now we can see you too. I covered my ears. The voices grew louder, overlapping, echoing inside my skull. The rain outside was no longer rain. It was pounding, fists against the window, against the walls, against the door. The light flickered again, stuttering like a dying pulse. And then, another voice. Clear, calm, right behind me. They just want to come in. I turned. The old man stood in the corner, half in shadow, his soaked uniform clinging to his skin. His eyes were clouded white, unfocused, but his smile was faint and knowing. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. He raised one trembling hand and pointed toward the curtain. Don't look again, he whispered. You can't help them. You can't leave. I took a step back. Who are they? I managed to croak. He tilted his head slightly, as if listening to something distant. They drowned waiting for help, he said softly. Now they wait for anyone who hears them. Lightning flashed again, flooding the room with white light. And just like that, he was gone. Only the sound of rain remained. I was shaking, breath ragged, staring at the curtain once more. The fabric moved slightly, just a ripple. Something brushed against it from the other side, slow, deliberate. I wanted to run, to hide, to scream. But instead, I reached out. My hand lifted, trembling, drawn by that same cursed curiosity. The whisper came again, right in my ear this time. Don't. I stopped, hand hovering inches from the curtain. Then thunder cracked, loud enough to shake the glass. And in that blinding flash, I saw the reflection in the window. Not just one face, dozens, maybe hundreds, all pressed against the glass, eyes hollow, mouths open in silent screams. And in the center of them all, one face that looked exactly like mine. The light died, the rain resumed, and I understood what he meant. They weren't outside anymore. If you ever hear your name in the rain, don't answer. That's what I should have told myself. But by then, I think it was already too late. The storm hadn't stopped, not even for a second. The sound of the rain was constant, like a heavy, wet heartbeat pulsing through the walls. It had become a part of the motel now, a pulse running through its bones. I sat on the floor beside the bed, staring at the window I'd sworn never to open again. The air was heavy, damp, thick with that smell of rotting wood and old water. My clothes hadn't dried since I first arrived. They clung to me like another layer of skin. I tried counting the raindrops against the glass, tried to drown the whispers out with my own voice, but it didn't matter. The rain was speaking now. At first, it was random, a low hum of overlapping tones, like static that breathed. Then, as I listened closer, I began to pick out patterns. Words. No, not words, names. Soft, breathless, carried by the storm. Daniel. Rachel. Thomas. Each one faded as another began, blending into a wet, endless murmur. I told myself it was the wind, just the wind. But then I heard it. My own name. It came faintly, buried beneath the others, stretched, distorted, but unmistakable. Ethan. I froze. The room felt smaller suddenly, like the walls were breathing inward. Every drop of water on the window vibrated in sync, forming little circles that rippled with the sound. Ethan. My name again. Louder this time. I pressed my palms against my ears, but it didn't help. The whisper wasn't outside anymore. It was inside. Inside the walls, inside my head, curling behind my thoughts. I whispered back, "Who are you?" The whispering stopped. For a moment, there was nothing, only the hum of the fluorescent light above me and the drip 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 of water from the ceiling vent. Then, softly, almost kindly, came the answer. "We remember you." My stomach turned cold. The clock on the nightstand ticked once. Then again, but slower than before, dragging out each second like it was struggling to stay alive. I stood up, unsteady. The carpet squished underfoot, soaked again. The floorboards creaked beneath the weight of water that shouldn't have been there. Something had changed in the room. The wallpaper had bubbled, splitting at the seams. Water ran down it in thin streams, carving dark trails toward the floor. The mirror above the dresser was fogged, not from heat or steam, but from breath. I took a step closer. The reflection wasn't mine. It was the old man. His cloudy eyes were fixed on me, his lips barely moving. I could see the water dripping from his chin, his soaked shirt plastered to his chest. But when I turned around, the room was empty. Only the whispering rain remained. Then, knock knock. 2 soft taps on the door. I froze, heart slamming in my chest. Another knock, louder this time. I approached slowly, every nerve in my body screaming not to. Who is it? No answer. I hesitated, hand on the knob. The whispers outside shifted, like the storm itself was holding its breath. Then a voice came, muffled through the door. Please, it said. You have to leave before nightfall. It was him, the old man. I opened the door, and just like before, he was gone. No one there, just puddles on the carpet where he'd been standing. The water rippled faintly, spreading toward me. The hallway beyond looked wrong, stretched longer than before, the lights flickering in slow, uneven pulses. Every door down the corridor stood open just a crack, each one leaking a thin stream of water into the hall. The whispering was everywhere now, seeping through the walls, the floors, the ceiling. Names, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Some repeated, others new. And every few seconds, mine again. Ethan. Ethan. You shouldn't have looked. I stepped back into the room and slammed the door shut, pressing my back against it. My heart raced. My breath came in ragged gasps. I stared at the window. The rain was heavier than ever, a grey curtain blurring everything beyond. But as lightning flared across the sky, I caught glimpses of shapes moving within it. Figures that didn't follow the wind's direction, figures walking upward, as though the rain itself was a road leading down from the clouds. I stumbled backward, tripping over the chair, landing hard on the wet floor. That's when I noticed it, the water level. It was rising. Slowly, steadily. The puddles around my feet were deepening. The carpet squished louder. The air filled with the smell of mud and algae, like the bottom of a riverbed. And through the hiss of the storm, I heard faint splashes, bare feet stepping closer, unseen. The light flickered, and the reflection in the mirror changed again. This time it was me, but standing behind me was someone else. A woman, hair hanging wet across her face, skin pale blue. Her eyes were closed. Her mouth was slightly open, whispering something too quiet to hear. I spun around. Nothing there, but the whispering in the rain grew louder, more frantic. The names tumbling over one another, the sound almost like begging. I pressed my hands against the window pane. What do you want from me? I shouted. Thunder answered. Then, faintly, under the roar of the rain, a single voice. Help us. My heart stopped. Lightning split the sky again, flooding the room with light. For just a second, I saw the reflection of the parking lot outside, and it wasn't empty. Dozens of figures stood there in the storm, half submerged in rising water. Their faces turned upward, mouths open, eyes hollow. The same faces I'd seen in the glass. They weren't ghosts. Not exactly. They were memories. Echoes of the drowned, trapped in the endless rain, repeating their final moments forever. And somehow, I joined them. Because when I looked down, my reflection in the water at my feet didn't move when I did. It blinked on its own. I stumbled back, knocking into the bedpost, staring in horror as the reflection smiled. Just faintly, a twitch of lips that didn't belong to me. Then the whisper came again, all around me now, a chorus of soaked, dead voices speaking as one. Stay with us. The light died. The rain screamed. And for a heartbeat, I thought I heard my name again. Not whispered this time, but called. From outside. From everywhere. I ran to the window, my hand reaching for the curtain again, trembling, desperate. But somewhere deep inside, beneath the panic and noise, I heard that old man's warning echo once more. Don't look. So I stopped. I stood there, frozen, breathing hard, listening as the storm howled around me. And beneath it all, the whispers faded, replaced by something else. The sound of water rising, slowly, steadily, swallowing everything. Do you believe places can remember what they lost? By the third day, I was no longer sure if time even existed. The clock on the wall had stopped. The rain hadn't. It was still falling, steady and endless, like the sky itself was bleeding. The motel was an island now. The road outside had vanished beneath dark, swirling water that lapped at the windows. The parking lot was gone, the cars half submerged, their roofs barely visible beneath the rippling gray. Even the neon sign outside, Raven Hill Motel, flickered under the surface, still glowing faintly beneath the flood, like a dying heartbeat underwater. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. The vending machine was empty, the power sputtered every few minutes, and the radio only played a loop of wet static that sometimes formed words if I listened too long. I'd stopped listening. The air smelled like decay, mold, rot, and something else. Something older. The walls dripped constantly. Not leaks, but thin sheets of water, like the building was sweating. The wallpaper peeled off in curling strips, revealing wood that pulsed faintly, as if breathing. I sat on the bed, knees pulled to my chest, flashlight dim and flickering in my hand. My body ached. My mind felt wrong. Fuzzy, distorted, like I was underwater too. That's when I noticed the sound. A deep, slow creaking from beneath the floorboards. It wasn't the storm, it was below me. I got up, following the noise. It grew louder as I moved toward the far end of the hall, where the carpet was soaked through completely. The water there was ankle deep now, murky and cold. At the end of the hallway, behind a faded employees only door, I found the source. A staircase, leading down. The basement door was slightly ajar, and for the first time since I arrived, unlocked. I hesitated, flashlight trembling in my grip. The old man's words echoed again. Don't open the curtains. Don't listen. Don't look. He never said anything about down. The air that drifted up from the basement was colder than the rain itself. Wet, heavy, carrying the faint scent of river mud. I swallowed hard and started down. Each step groaned under my weight, slick with moisture. The deeper I went, the louder the storm became, though I was moving away from it. The sound wasn't coming from above anymore. It was below, roaring through unseen tunnels like the earth itself was drowning. The basement was vast, far larger than the motel could possibly hold. My light skimmed over broken furniture, boxes swollen with water, and walls covered in black mold. And then, I saw them. Photographs. Hundreds of them. They lined the walls in crooked frames, most half-faded or water-damaged. Faces stared back, guests, families, couples, lone travelers. Some smiling, some not. Each one blurred and warped from moisture. I moved closer, brushing the fog from the glass. The names beneath the photos were handwritten, smudged but still legible. Guest number 41, arrived 1972. Guest number 42, arrived 1972. Guest number 43. All from the same year, the same storm. The newspaper I'd read in the lounge flashed through my mind. The flood that wiped out the nearby town, 50 years ago. 50 years. I moved down the line of photographs, each face more distorted than the last. Some were nothing but pale blurs, others missing chunks of image where water had eaten away at the film. Then I stopped, because one face was clear. My face. The photo was fresher, newer. The edges not yet frayed. My hair, my jacket, the same look of tired confusion I'd seen in the mirror that first night. Beneath it, the same handwritten scrawl. Guest number 121, arrived 2022. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick, pressing down on my lungs. My mind tried to rationalize it. A trick, a coincidence, maybe someone else who looked like me. But the more I stared, the more I remembered. I had been here before, Flashes came back, a road I didn't recognize, a storm that felt too familiar, a motel with a vacancy light that had always been buzzing. The same rain, the same faces, the same fear. And then I understood. The storm didn't just happen every 50 years. It returned. And with it, the dead. The long rain, the old man had called it. It wasn't weather. It was a memory. A flood that pulled the living into its echo, over and over, generation after generation. The drowned reached up from the depths, dragging down anyone who happened to find shelter here, forcing them to relive the same storm, the same fear, until they too became part of it. The motel wasn't a building. It was a trap, a door between the living and the drowned. I stumbled back, tripping over a half-submerged box. My flashlight slipped from my hand and splashed into the rising water, flickering violently before going out. Darkness swallowed me. For a moment, there was silence. Then the whispering began again. Not from the rain this time, from the walls, from the photographs. I could hear them, hundreds of voices murmuring beneath the dripping ceiling. You came back. You never left. It's your turn. The temperature dropped. My breath fogged in the air. I turned, stumbling through the dark, my hands brushing over frames slick with mold and condensation. I found the stairs and began to climb. But the water was rising faster now, slapping against my legs. With every step, it felt like something beneath the surface was pulling at me, tugging, grasping, trying to keep me there. Halfway up, lightning flashed somewhere far above, and I saw a reflection in the water pooling below. The faces, all of them, smiling now. The light flickered once more, and the reflection changed. I wasn't in it anymore. Only the old man, standing in the center of the basement, staring up at me. His expression wasn't angry or sad. It was tired. "Run," he whispered. Then the thunder crashed, and the world went black again. I clawed my way up the stairs, through the flooded hallway, back toward my room. The water followed, pouring in through the cracks, seeping from the ceiling, filling the air with the roar of 100 rivers. By the time I reached my door, the water was at my knees. I pushed inside, gasping, and slammed it shut. The lock clicked weakly, uselessly. Outside, the flood raged louder, slamming against the walls like fists. I grabbed the dresser, the chair, anything to block the door. My reflection in the window watched me with that faint, knowing smile. The room was tilting. I could feel it. The floorboards groaned, the foundation shifting beneath the pressure of the water below. And then I heard it again, the voice I'd first heard in the rain. My own. "Ethan, you shouldn't have looked. You always look." I turned toward the window just as lightning split the sky. The motel was gone, completely underwater. The storm didn't end. It just kept falling, heavier and heavier, the rain swallowing the last of the world I knew. I pressed my forehead to the cold glass, tears mixing with the condensation. I whispered, "Why me?" And somewhere beneath the thunder, I thought I heard the answer. "Because you remembered." The water was at my waist now, cold and endless. And as it reached my chest, I finally understood what it meant for a place to remember what it lost. It remembers you. If the rain's hitting your window right now, maybe it's not outside. That thought didn't make sense at first, but nothing did anymore. The water had reached my chest. The room was breathing, groaning, pulsing like something alive. The walls bulged and bent, dripping endlessly. Every crack, every seam leaked, not from outside, but from within. I was no longer sure where the motel ended and where the flood began. The lights were gone. The thunder rolled in constant waves. The sound of the rain had changed again. Less like falling, more like a heartbeat. Steady, heavy, deep. I tried the door. It didn't budge. The water pressed against it from both sides, equal force. When I pushed, it pushed back. The storm had sealed me in. I climbed onto the bed, or what was left of it. The mattress floated slightly, bumping against the wall. Everything I owned was soaked and useless. My flashlight flickered in the water below, a weak yellow glow like a dying eye staring up at me. And that's when I noticed it. The puddle. It wasn't big, maybe 3 feet across, rippling softly in the middle of the room. The surface shimmered with reflections from the lightning outside. I don't know why I looked. I should have learned by now not to, but I did. At first, it was just me. My reflection, trembling, wide-eyed, mouth half open. Then it smiled. I didn't. The grin stretched slowly, unnaturally, like skin pulled too tight. Its eyes were darker than they should have been, black pits where pupils should be. And behind that grin, I could see something moving in the water. Shapes. Faces. I stumbled back on the bed, my pulse hammering in my throat. The reflection tilted its head, mirroring me, but delayed, half a second slower, like it was remembering what to do. Then it raised a hand, and the water rippled. A pale, translucent broke the surface. Fingers long and dripping, joints bending wrong. They reached for me, not in the reflection, but in the real water. I screamed, scrambling backward, but there was nowhere to go. The hand wrapped around my wrist, ice cold, impossibly strong. Its grip burned, not with heat but with pressure, like a vacuum pulling me down. I tried to pull away. The bed shifted, nearly tipping. My other hand clawed at the headboard, but the harder I fought, the stronger it pulled. The reflection was no longer smiling. It was laughing, soundlessly, water bubbling from its mouth. I shouted, "Let go!" Thunder answered. The lights flashed again, and in that instant, I saw what was beneath the surface. Dozens of faces, pale, distorted, eyes open wide, mouths silently screaming. They surrounded my reflection, or maybe were my reflection, pulling at its body, dragging it deeper and yet closer. It was like looking into a hole that led straight through the world. The hand yanked harder, dragging me toward the floor. My knees hit the water, then my waist, then my chest. I gasped as the cold closed around me. The reflection leaned closer in the puddle, whispering without sound. Its lips moved, slow and deliberate, forming words I could almost hear over the thunder. "You belong here." I tried to fight, but the strength drained from me. My heartbeat echoed in my ears, slow, heavy, matching the rhythm of the rain. The sound wasn't falling anymore. It was rising. That's when I realized it wasn't rain at all. It was the flood coming back. The motel wasn't filling up because of the storm outside. It was filling because the past was surfacing, pulling everything, every memory, every person, up from beneath. The floorboards split with a wet crack, and dark water surged through the seams, rising to my shoulders in seconds. The walls shuddered, the ceiling dripping faster. My reflection tilted its head again. The grin returned, soft this time, almost sad. Then another hand broke the surface beside the first. Then another. Soon, there were dozens. They reached through the puddle, through the floor, from every corner. Wet fingers brushing my arms, my neck, my face. Their touch wasn't violent anymore. It was pleading, "Help us." The words came from nowhere and everywhere, muffled by water and thunder. I could feel them, their sorrow, their fear, the endless weight of 50 years of drowning. I whispered back, choking on my own breath, "I can't." The reflection's eyes softened. For the first time, it looked alive. Then it pulled. The floor vanished beneath me. The water swallowed my head. I screamed, but no sound left my throat. My lungs filled with cold. My vision flickered with white flashes. Through the murky water, I saw them. All the faces I'd seen in the glass. All the guests before me. They surrounded me, their expressions calm now. Somewhere among them was the old man. He didn't look dead anymore. His eyes were clear. He reached out, his voice bubbling through the current. "You always come back." I tried to answer, but the current dragged me down. Down through the floor, through the walls, through the endless dark where the storm had no beginning or end. As I sank deeper, the sound of the rain faded until it became something else entirely, a pulse. My pulse. The reflection followed me all the way down. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in the motel lobby. The floor was dry. The air was still. The storm was gone. Everything looked new again. Polished wood, bright lamps, the clock ticking normally. Behind the desk stood a man. He smiled warmly, eyes kind. "Welcome to Raven Hill Motel," he said. "Long drive." I nodded slowly, looking around. Something about this place felt familiar. The sign outside flickered, buzzing faintly. He slid a key across the counter. "Room 7. Stay as long as you need." I took it, glancing at the keychain. The tag was old, the numbers fading. The metal was wet, slick with something that wasn't rain. When I looked up, the man was gone, and in his place was a framed photo on the counter. Fresh, gleaming, still dripping with water. I picked it up. It was me, standing right here. The caption beneath read, "Guest number 122, arrived 2025. A single drop fell from the ceiling, splashing onto the frame. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. And when I looked toward the window, I saw it, the first drop of rain. The rain had stopped days ago. At least, that's what the weather report said. But standing at the edge of that overgrown mountain road, I could still smell it. That thick, metallic scent of soaked earth and decay that lingers long after the storm has passed. The trees around me dripped lazily, the soil soft beneath my boots. Every so often, thunder rumbled far off, too faint to tell if it was real or just memory. I wasn't supposed to be here. No one was. The map said there used to be a town nearby, Raven Hill. It vanished in the 70s after a dam collapse, taking almost 50 lives with it. They said the water swallowed everything. Roads, homes, even a small motel by the highway. But the motel wasn't gone. It stood crooked and silent at the end of the road, half sunken into the wet earth. The sign still hung above the entrance, letters rusted but legible. Raven Hill Motel, vacancy. The word vacancy buzzed faintly, flickering every few seconds like it was trying to stay alive. The place shouldn't have had power. I stood there for a long time, raincoat pulled tight, my breath fogging in the cold air. The storm clouds were gathering again, stretching across the sky like bruises. A few drops hit the dirt, hesitant, like they were testing the ground. I should have turned back then. But curiosity is a disease all its own. The front doors groaned when I pushed them open. Inside smelled of mildew, old wood, and something faintly electrical. The wallpaper peeled in strips. The floorboards bowed under my weight, groaning like something beneath them didn't want me there. My flashlight beam cut through the dark, revealing the reception desk. Dust blanketed everything. A register book sat open, the pages warped from water damage. Only one name was legible, scrawled in shaky handwriting. Guest number 122, check-in date, 2025. I frowned. That was this year. But the pages above it were dated decades ago. A cold draft crept across my neck. The air felt thick, like I was breathing through water. My light flickered, then steadied again. Something metallic glinted behind the counter. I moved closer. There it was, a small black recorder, the kind you'd use for interviews or field notes. It was still on. The light on its side blinked red, steady and slow. The battery icon, half full. That didn't make sense. I hesitated before pressing play. The button clicked softly, and the static began. A low hiss that filled the room like a whispering breath. Then, faintly, a voice. A man's voice. Hoarse. Shaken. I don't know if anyone will ever hear this, but if you do, please, just listen. I froze. The voice continued, desperate, trembling. It started when the rain wouldn't stop. I was driving through the mountains. I just needed a place to rest. My heart sank. The voice was telling a story, one I'd heard before. I don't know how, but I had. Every word, every sound of thunder, every breath. He described the storm, the motel, the old man with cloudy eyes, the warning about the curtains, everything. And as he spoke, the room seemed to change. The walls darkened. The air grew heavy. The smell of wet carpet rose, sharp and sour. The temperature dropped. The further the voice went, the closer it felt. Like the man wasn't speaking from the recorder anymore, but through it. Then came the part about the faces in the glass. I flinched. A flash of lightning illuminated the window beside me, and for a split second, I thought I saw someone standing there. A pale outline, unmoving. I stepped closer, trembling, shining my light at the glass. Nothing. Just my reflection and the faint shimmer of rain beginning to fall outside. The voice on the recorder had started whispering now. The rain's not falling. It's rising. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped it. The recorder hissed louder, static swallowing the voice for a few seconds, then came back, clearer than before. If anyone finds this, if you're hearing my voice, get out. Don't look outside. Don't. A sharp crack filled the speaker, like thunder splitting the world in half. The sound made the walls tremble. The lights above flickered to life for a moment, on their own. The entire lobby glowed in a pale, yellow light. And in that flash, I saw them. Dozens of wet footprints leading from the front door to the desk. Fresh. My throat closed. I turned toward the door, but it was already swinging shut. Slowly, softly. The rain was coming down harder now. The voice on the recorder had returned, but it wasn't the same. It was lower, warmer, closer. I see you. The words crackled through the speaker, followed by faint splashes, footsteps through shallow water. I backed away, clutching the recorder like it was something holy. Who are you? I whispered. Static. Then, faintly, laughter. A laugh I recognized but didn't know why. Lightning flashed again, and the window beside me burst open with a crash of glass and wind. Rain poured in, soaking the floor instantly. The wind howled, carrying with it something that wasn't just water, it was voices. Hundreds of them, whispering, chanting, sobbing. The sound filled the lobby, the walls vibrating with the weight of it. The recorder hissed again, then spoke one final line. You always come back. The light went out. I don't remember running. I only remember the cold, the taste of the rain, the sound of my heartbeat pounding in time with the thunder. When I finally stumbled outside, the sign above the motel flickered again. Vacancy, glowing bright red through the storm. I fell to my knees, soaked, trembling, staring at the building as the windows glowed faintly from within. One by one, like rooms being occupied. Then I heard it, from the doorway, faint but unmistakable, the sound of the recorder still playing. My own voice echoed from inside, though I hadn't said a word. If anyone finds this place, turn back. The thunder swallowed the rest. The rain fell harder. I picked up my phone to record what I was seeing, but when I turned the camera on, the screen showed something else. Not the motel, not the storm. It showed a man inside a dark room, staring directly into the lens. He smiled, and behind him, the rain was falling upward. The wind screamed across the mountain, carrying with it the endless sound of water. The Raven Hill Motel stood silent once more, its sign buzzing faintly in the dark. Inside, by the cracked window, the recorder blinked red. Still powered, still waiting, and if you listen closely, under the hiss of static, you can hear it. A single whisper. I think it's starting. If you ever find this place, turn back. And if it's raining where you are, don't listen too closely. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.